Which propaganda effort was so successful, people still believe it today. That teeth are supposed to be perfectly white. Teeth are supposed to be off-white. Think of teeth like skin. Skin comes in different shades, just like teeth. At least that's what my dentist told me while he was checking my prostate. People should know that a healthy set of teeth doesn't mean they're perfectly white. Super white teeth are not even normal. Our enamel will slowly become more translucent as we age, revealing the color of the dentin, which is yellow, underneath it. That's why as we get older, our teeth will become yellower. Doesn't mean they're not healthy or unclean. This is one of the biggest scams by dental care companies, I believe. They must be making a fortune selling whitening toothpaste, which really doesn't do anything different from other toothpaste. That carrots make your vision better. That Napoleon Bonaparte was short. He was 5 feet and 7 inches tall, which might be a little bit on the shorter side by modern standards, but it was around the average height for people back then. The idea that he was short actually came from a British propaganda campaign to mock him. Also, due to starting out as an artillery officer, when he got high rank, he sometimes liked to micromanage the cannons, a job meant for corporals. This earned him the nickname, Little Corporal, from his troops. It's a term of endearment. The Brits may have heard it, and put more emphasis on the little part. That Columbus was the only person who believed the world was round. Literally everyone who could read knew that the earth was round. Nobody thought Columbus would fall off the edge. They thought his crew would starve to death before reaching the East Indies. And he totally would have. Columbus was lucky that there was a new continent where he thought Asia was. The reason that the Portuguese rejected Columbus' request for money and ships is because they calculated how far the East Indies were to the west based on the raw data provided by the works of Marco Polo. The Portuguese had a rough idea of how far Japan was to the west of Portugal. They knew how vast the combined Atlanto-Pacific Ocean was. Many Korean people believe that fans can cause death. Even my mother, who moved to America in her mid-teens, still prohibits me from leaving a fan on overnight for fear of death. There is a conspiracy theory that the South Korean government spread this myth as propaganda to prevent energy overusage, but its origins are unknown. It's strange that many Koreans believe this myth considering it is one of the most technologically advanced countries. I've heard also that some suicides are covered up by the police reporting that a fan was left on and blaming it on that, publicly at least. Not sure how true that is. That if you ask if someone is a cop, if they are a cop, they legally are required to say yes they are. Of course they aren't required to. That defeats the entire purpose of working undercover. When Edward Bernays, the father of public relations, literally renamed propaganda that we want people to think is not bad to public relations and advertising, and he literally admitted it in a book he made called Propaganda. Propaganda is, quite literally, just media that is attempting to persuade you. It might be honest or dishonest, but no matter what, it is still propaganda. Knuckle cracking gives you arthritis. If it did, I would make a living being the overly dramatic old white person in infomercials that can't pick up a bottle. And I'm only 31. The myth that Spartans threw unhealthy babies off mountains, this was Athenian propaganda. Actually, people from every polis would abandon babies if they felt like it. See Oedipus, the Athenians claimed that Spartans ritualized the practice. The Spartans' main problem was all the child raping. Sugar companies paid the media to say that fat made you fat. I mean, all food in extreme amounts will put you on the heavy side, but sugar is the true villain here. There's a book written in the 80s, I think, called Pure, White and Deadly. The author was basically hounded almost to death by sugar companies and mocked and treated like scum for telling the truth. That fat is unhealthy. The nutrient that is, not actually being fat. Fat is a necessary part of any diet. Eliminating it completely will never be healthy. To quote Paracelsus, a Swiss physician born in the 1490s, "The dose makes the poison." Absinthe makes you hallucinate was propaganda because it was hurting the wine industry. MSG will kill you and is horrible to ingest. I'm allergic to MSG. Really, it is delicious and your body produces it naturally while breaking down regular salt. Some people do have sodium issues, and it may not be good for them. But that's a tiny micro percentage of people. There's MSG in breast milk, tomatoes and Parmesan cheese, etc. It is a natural component of most protein-containing foods. Breakfast is the most important meal of the day. At least we got breakfast cereal out of the deal. I love cold cereal. But yeah, what a bunch of bullshit. People still believe dogs don't see in color, when in fact they do. They see less of it than humans do, but they most definitely see in color. A successful propaganda campaign by cats, to smear their bitter rivals. Camels don't store water in their humps. They store fat in their humps. Me too, camels, me too. Autism and vaccines. The original guy wanted to advertise his own vaccine but did not disclose this when he published a hit piece on the mainstream vaccine at the time, in a reputable journal. His alternative vaccine failed, his paper was bashed and ultimately retracted, yet people smart enough to work at Google don't vaccinate their kids. Andrew Wakefield, a former gastroenterologist and the man responsible for this anti-vax shit show, originally wanted to prove that vaccines were responsible for bowel disease as well as linking it to autism. He was put through a tribunal by the GMC. It was found that not only had he lied about his research, but was found to have committed 12 acts of abuse against developmentally disabled children after he put them through unnecessary and invasive procedures. To try and prove that vaccines were responsible for autism and bowel disease, he put young children through unnecessary colonoscopies and lumbar punctures, spinal taps. He was struck off from the medical register and is no longer allowed to practice medicine. He continues to make a living promoting and speaking at anti-vaccine propaganda events. People should remember that. Anti-vaxxers are looking to an abuser found to have put developmentally disabled children through unnecessary medical procedures for advice. Let's not understate how much of a piece of shit the man is. The war on drugs. Prematurely illegalized drugs we didn't understand and hadn't had the chance to do a lot of research on, psychedelics and weed, mainly, and created a black hole of misinformation and mistrust by the public, as well as removed funding for drugs that now, thanks to private funding, we're realizing can have hugely positive effects when dealing with mental health. Edit. I'd like to point out that when I said psychedelics I meant more like LSD, shrooms, and MDMA because they're showing to be more effective than SRIs and other prescribed drugs for mental health illnesses with much less side effects. Edit 2. I understand the war on drugs targeted blacks and other minorities as well, but at this point that's well documented and most people know it. But to say it's nothing more is extremely short-sighted. Lie detector tests are accurate. They're junk science at best. People, when the inventor of the device and procedures used is on record saying it's crap, we should probably listen. Looking at you, Florida, for allowing LD test results as evidence in court. They're such horse shit. I lost my job as a government contractor because of a lie detector test. I wasn't goddamn lying. That test just made me nervous as fuck. I remember someone told me one of their questions was along the lines of, if you have a choice of saving your family or the Prime Minister, would you choose the Prime Minister? How can anyone answer that without stressing out? I am from Germany, and some of my grandparents still believe the stuff they were told about Jews by the Nazis. Like when a Jewish person dies on a Christian holiday, they get hung behind the door, and everyone who comes in has to spit on him. It's some vile stuff. I can't believe how they were spoon-fed with this in their early years. Edit. Another one I remember is that they were told that at a Jewish funeral, the dead person gets a stone put in their pocket, so if they cross Jesus in the afterlife they can throw it at him. Engagement rings are required for marriage. In Germany you buy one ring. When you are engaged you wear it on the left hand. When married you switch it to the right. Very practical. The lie that nuclear power is terrible. It is worse than renewables. However, instead of chucking huge quantities of dangerous waste into the air like a coal power plant, it can all be contained, and 95% can be reprocessed into new fuel. In the 60s and 70s, a lot of oil giants used advertising to link its reputation to the very real danger of nuclear weapons, and if this hadn't have happened, global warming would have been much less of an issue. Very few people realize that coal power actually causes more deaths per MW than nuclear power due to nitrous oxide emissions, even when Chernobyl is included in the statistics. Edit. A lot of people are saying that nuclear is as good, or possibly better than renewables. I agree that at the moment, for baseline power, it is better, and we should be using it a lot more. In the long term, though, I think that renewable are a better solution due to not needing refueling and needing less oversight. Once production of the power plants themselves becomes cleaner and better storage solutions are devised. Nestle done a smear campaign saying formula feeding is best. They mainly done it in third world countries. Nestle owns majority of formula companies, so they got rich, and uneducated third world countries suffered as they would rather use this healthier option, but made it with dirty water, meaning children died, which wasn't needed as most have no issue making breast milk. Nestle is amongst the most evil companies in the world, and they're still doing these messed up practices today. The way they monopolize water sources should be outright illegal. Breakfast is the most important meal of the day, and that cereal, toast, sugary things are part of a balanced breakfast. Know plenty of people who function perfectly without eating anything for breakfast. Drinking fountains are unhealthy. The bottled beverage industry commissioned and publicized a series of studies in the early 1990s when they decided to get into the bottled water business. The problem was that their largest competitor was free and available in schools, parks, and public buildings everywhere. Anyone who took even a semester of biology knows that if you walk around and swab and culture anything, you'll find that it's covered in bacteria. That's ecology on planet Earth. That a 4-year college education is the only way you'll succeed in life. That you need to eat 3 or more large meals per day to be happy and healthy. And that a sugary breakfast is by far the most important part of that day. That GMOs are bad. Newsflash: your orange carrots are GMO. Most of the food you eat is GMO. Without it, we couldn't sustain society as it is now. Human interference with plants is not a bad thing. Exactly. GMOs are not dangerous at all. It's literally just slightly altering DNA of seeds to make them grow under worse conditions or yield more produce. If anything, pesticides are the real killer. That turning the light on in the back seat of the car is illegal. James, damn it, Ted, we're getting pulled over. You just had to have the light on, didn't you? Ted, we're not getting pulled over because of the light. We're getting pulled over because you were speeding. James, I can't hear you over the blinding glare of that light. What are you reading anyways, Game of Thrones? Spoiler alert. Ted, the new season sucks and the books are way. James, shut up, Ted. Nobody cares he's coming. Act natural. Actually, no, you act weird. I'll act natural. You're my alibi, Ted. Play along or I swear to God. Oh, hi, officer. How are you doing this luscious evening? Officer, do you know why I pulled you two over? James, I'm afraid I do. The light, right? Don't worry. I can explain. My friend here is new to this country. Officer, him? James, yes, he comes from a faraway village and well, why don't you tell him? Tedahamed. Ted Tedahamed? Oh, yes, I am Tedahamed. Good to make your meetings. James, go on, tell him where you're from. Ted, I am from, Escobar. Officer, Escobar? Ted, yeah, I mean, yes. Officer, they read Game of Thrones in Escobar? James, he only reads it for the incest. Ted, actually? James, yep, those Escobarians sure love their incest. Officer, well then. James, so Ted, there's no cars in Escobar, huh? Ted, only a donkey? James, then it makes total sense that you wouldn't know about the no lights in the car rule. Glad we got to the bottom of that. Don't worry, officer, I'll straighten him out. Tedahamed, you are a bad fob. We're taking you right back to the border. Officer, sir, I pulled you over because you were going 85 in a 60. James, so not because of the light? Officer, no. James, oh. In that case I should mention, I too am from Escobar. I am first time riding steel donkey. No familiaritings with this speed limit. Many thankings for the upheads. I am now only to ride gentle and safe like sweet home Alabama's. Officer. All right, both of you out of the vehicle. Put your hands over your heads and lean against the hood while I search the car. James, damn it, Ted, I knew you shouldn't have left the light on. Ted, this isn't happening because of the fucking light, moron. It's because you sped then lied to the cop. James, no, I get that now. I just mean the light being on is going to make it a lot easier for him to find all the cocaine I have in the back. Which propaganda effort was so successful that people still believe it today? Leave a comment and subscribe to the channel if you want to see more videos like this one.